y'all. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. My name is Amira and my channel is all about talking about new makeup, trying new makeup, but also finding new and exciting ways to be inspired by the makeup you already own. If that sounds good to you, I hope you will consider subscribing, and if you enjoyed this video, hitting the like button. Today's video is an idea that came to me last week when I was realizing that I hadn't made a purchase from a particular brand in a really long time. And it's a brand that I used to shop from regularly. And it got the wheels turning in my head, and it made me think about the brands that I have lost interest in. And I'm sure you guys have your own list of brands that you just, you used to shop from, or that you used to kind of keep on your radar, but you just haven't thought about them. Or if you have thought about them, you realize that there's been nothing that they've released in recent time that has tickled your fancy enough for you to like open your wallet and give them your money. So I decided I would sit down and talk about that with you guys. I'm going to talk about the brands that I have lost interest in. Let's get into it. All right, so I am going to preface this with, this is not necessarily a knock on the specific brands themselves. It might be with certain brands, but not all brands. It's just a question of, have they done anything or released anything in recent times that has excited me enough for me to want to purchase from them? Have they just kind of fallen off my radar and I've just kind of lost track of them? And then when I do wander onto their IG page or their website, I'm just kind of like, but each brand will have its specific sort of, issues, and we'll get into that. So let's start off with, I'm going to start off with an unpopular opinion. And maybe, who knows, you may find all of these unpopular opinions, maybe not, but I feel like this is an unpopular opinion because so many people rave about this brand, and that brand is Patrick Ta. Is it Patrick Ta Beauty? Patrick Ta Cosmetics? I think it's Patrick Ta Beauty or Patrick Ta. His makeup brand. I have nothing against Patrick Ta himself as a person. I don't even really have anything against the brand itself. The issue that I have with the Patrick Ta line is that every single product that I have tried, I have been underwhelmed by. Every single one. I have tried the blush duo. I had one of those I wound up decluttering. I have the brow, like soap brow product, the clear one. I still have that, but I'm probably going to wind up decluttering it. I never use it. It was just okay. I was really interested in trying one of his eyeshadow palettes. I really was interested in the first Major Dimensions palette. It's always out of stock. And then this past spring, he came out with Major Dimension 2, the Rose palette. So I purchased that one. And I was expecting to be blown away. I was not. I think it's not bad. I just don't think it's amazing. And I don't think it's worth the $65 price point. And so for me, having tried a handful of products in various different categories, I've tried brow product, I've tried face product, I've tried eyeshadow, and I haven't been blown away by any of it. And I find all of it to be pretty high on, on a higher price point. For me, it's just kind of a brand now that I'm like, maybe it's just not for me. And as a result, I've just kind of lost interest in trying anything from the brand. I'm still a little curious about the first Major Dimensions palette because that's the one that I truly wanted in the first place. It's still always sold out, and maybe eventually I'll try that. But at this moment, having spent a good amount of money on Patrick Ta products and not being blown away, I don't see myself spending money on the brand in the near future. Next up is a brand that I feel like we all can get on board with this brand. I feel like the general consensus in the makeup community. Now, I don't know how they do. I think sometimes when you're in the makeup community bubble, or when you're like a makeup enthusiast, and we assume that everyone is thinking the same exact thing that we're thinking about a brand, and then we wonder why that brand is still around and how they're doing so well. And the reason for that is because other people are buying them, people who aren't necessarily makeup enthusiasts but are people who just want, you know, decent makeup that they can wear on an everyday basis. You know, they have that 1 or 2 palettes that they own, and they have their go-to, you know, base products and eyebrow products and all that good stuff. They're not really makeup connoisseurs per se. And I think that is why a couple of the brands on this list have not fallen off yet. But I feel it's that way with both of the brands I'm about to talk about. The first one being Urban Decay. I have not purchased a single Urban Decay product since I purchased the Urban Decay Stay Naked foundation almost 2 years ago. Maybe not quite 2, maybe 1.5 years ago. It's a really good foundation. I enjoy it. I was actually surprised at how much I liked it. I take that back. I bought the Hydromaniac and then promptly returned it because the color was terrible. It was way too dewy for my skin. I wanted to like it, but it just was not the biz for me. So I take that back. I did purchase the Hydromaniac, but that in and of itself was like 1 year ago. And that was the last product I purchased from Urban Decay. The palettes are so underwhelming. I mean, when they came out with that greens palette, how do you come out with a greens palette with only 2 greens? How? How, Sway? How? How do you do that? I don't understand. I was so underwhelmed by that. And then when I saw the reviews and saw how lightly pigmented that palette was, it was like whispers of pigment. I was just like, how was this the Urban Decay of yesterday, like of yore? You know, remember Urban Decay used to be bold and they used to have really pigmented shadows and they used to be really interesting and exciting, and they're just not anymore. They came out with those little minis. Those minis were terrible looking. They looked like dusty, ashy, again, whispers of pigment. The themes were weird, and it's like they were trying to be edgy without being edgy. I don't get how do you come out with a palette called Half Baked and it's a bunch of dusty browns and one dusty idea of an orange? Like, I don't understand. Another green palette called Foxy with no real greens in it. I find them to be very, and maybe it happened when they got bought by, I think they're owned by Estee Lauder. I could be wrong, but I think that's who purchased them. And there seems to be this theme with brands that are really cool that when they get purchased by, you know, a large, you know, umbrella, you know, brand, or a conglomerate, they just lose all of the things that make them interesting. And I feel like Urban Decay falls under that category, is that they're just boring. You know, they're just boring, and they seem to be they're always behind the trend. If that you know what I mean? Like the trend will be, let's say the trend is blue eyeshadows, and a bunch of blue eyeshadow palettes come out, and then Urban Decay will come out with the whisper of a blue palette 1 year later. You know what I mean? That's how I think of Urban Decay. I just feel like they have lost their, and I feel like this for a lot of mainstream large brands, is that there seems to be an identity crisis for most of them. If you really look at what they're doing, it's like they themselves have no idea, no clue what they want to be, or what they want to release, you know, or what people are interested in for that matter. And again, that's me coming from the place of a makeup enthusiast who pays attention to trends in regards to like indie makeup, and to see or trends of what people that are really into makeup like myself are interested in. And it seems like a lot of these mainstream brands are sort of out of step with that. But again, maybe that's just me saying that, and they're doing perfectly fine with the larger, you know, the masses, you know, they're doing perfectly fine with the masses, just not with the makeup enthusiasts, which is maybe more of a, you know, a niche community. Next up in that same vein is Too Faced. Here's the thing about Too Faced. I have mixed feelings about Too Faced, because here's the thing. I actually really like Too Faced products. The products that I've tried from them, the majority of them I have enjoyed. I have things in my makeup collection that are, I don't want to say holy grails, but they're things that have become staples in my collection, and things that I know I can rely on and that I enjoy using and that I feel great when I use. And a lot of those are Too Faced products. You know, I love their face palettes. I think they have fantastic bronzers. I like their setting powder. Like, there's a lot of things to like about the brand, but there are also things that I don't like about the brand. I don't like this weird schism in there. Like they have this very split personality type of way of marketing things where it's either really childish or really overly sexualized and weird. And then the fact that I feel like their eyeshadow formula is not consistent in the least. It's very, you know, you get the good formula if you spend the money on the big tin pan, you know, the tin eyeshadow pans, and you get a good formula if you maybe buy the little minis that aren't the holiday minis. But if you're buying anything around holiday season that is eyeshadow, it is trash. I don't understand. In a way I get it. I get it from a pricing standpoint, from a, you know, they make more money by using lesser quality ingredients, and then they sell these things during the holidays to people who normally don't buy makeup anyway. You know, people are buying them as gifts for other people, teenagers, things like that. Okay, whatever. That's marketing and capitalism. We get that. But I just feel like the brand itself is having an identity crisis. Now, Jared has left the building. So he has left the company officially now. Like, he's no longer involved with it at all. And maybe this is a good time for them to figure out, to sort of tighten the reins a little bit and just come up with a more cohesive brand identity that isn't this weird hybrid of little girl sex pot thing that they've got going on. That's just strange and frankly makes me uncomfortable a lot of the times. So yeah, Too Faced is definitely on this list. Next up is another, this is slightly controversial, but hear me out, okay? Next up on this list is Fenty Beauty. I don't dislike Fenty Beauty. The majority of products I've tried from Fenty Beauty, I have really enjoyed. I don't have any issues with it, with the company or the aesthetic or the point of view that they have, or even their formulas. I really don't. For me, the issue is that they have not come out in quite a while. They have not come out with a product that has interested me enough to purchase. It's just as simple as that. I think the last thing I purchased from Fenty was the those little concealers that they had. I bought one shade in the peachy shade, and I'm still on the fence about how I feel about that. It's one of those things that can go sideways if you apply too much. You have to be really careful with how you apply it. I know some people really love that product. I haven't decided how I feel about it. And that's the last thing I purchased from them. They just came out with these marbled bronzer highlighter things. Those caught my eye, and I might eventually pick one of those up and try it. But outside of that, I haven't been interested in anything they've put out. You know, they put out those lip stains. I don't like lip stains, so I'm just like, meh. It's just a question of, for me, I'm finding that what they're releasing is not in step with what my aesthetic is as far as what products catch my eye, you know, or make me excited to try and to purchase. It's nothing to do with the brand itself. It's more just they haven't released anything that I want to buy. It's really simple as that. And as a result, they've kind of fallen off my radar a little bit. Like, they'll come out with a new product and I'll, look at it and go, no. And then I'll just forget about the brand. So that is where I'm coming from with Fenty. Again, nothing to do with the brand itself. Again, or the quality of the products that the brand comes out with. It's just, they just aren't coming out with things that excite me enough to want to buy them. Next up is a brand that I used to love that I feel like has had this shift from being really cool and really interesting and really, everyone excited about their products, to being just really boring and pedestrian. And that is Colored Rain. I feel like there was a shift with Colored Rain when they changed their eyeshadow formula. And I believe that was in 2019, maybe, when they came out. I think it was the Juicy palette, and they came out with that big palette, and then I think there's a bunch of little palettes. It was just a lot going on with that collection. And the reviews for it, and that was right when they changed their formula. They went completely vegan. And it changed the formula of their products, of their eyeshadows, which, naturally it would. but it changed the quality of the eyeshadows. And I just remember seeing reviews for that palette and people were so disappointed and so unimpressed and just going, this is not the Queen of Hearts colored rain that we know. This is not Safari Rain quality colored rain. And then they started, you know, they got rid of all their singles and they now have these, you know, they just came out with these small palettes that look cute, but also not. Like, it's, I feel like they're going backwards in time as far as what people are interested in. The palettes look really dated. The packaging looks really dated. The palettes look, the pans themselves are really like small and oddly spaced apart. It just, the whole aesthetic for me is not it. And I'm kind of questioning like where is this coming from? Because I think back to, you know, I think of my Safari Rain palette, which is an insanely gorgeous palette. The packaging, the pigment quality, the color story, everything is just chef's kiss. So how are you going from that to where they are now? And I just feel like there's a pullback from quality overall that concerns me. Does that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, And so as a result, I just, not only have the color stories not been interesting, but the cheapening of the overall aesthetic of the brand has kind of turned me off. So yeah. Another brand that I love, and I have nothing, well, I wouldn't say I won't have anything negative to say, but it's a brand that I really enjoy, and it's a brand that I've talked about. I've recently talked about this brand on my back burner wish list. There's products that they have that I still want to purchase, but those are old products. There's nothing new, and that is the brand that I'm talking about is Dose of Colors. And I mean, if you've paid attention to Dose of Colors, you kind of know that they have sort of like their standard range. First of all, let me just flat out say, Dose of Colors has my favorite liquid lipstick formula, hands down. Beautiful, love it. I own a ton of their liquid lipsticks. I love their liquid lipsticks. Beautiful formula. I recommend it to anyone who's interested in liquid lipstick but doesn't really like liquid lipstick. That is what I recommend to them. However, they've had the same range forever. They haven't come out with any new interesting colors. The range is very safe. Like, for me, I think Dose of Colors is a great way to build up a basic liquid lipstick color range collection, you know? But if you want anything exciting, they don't have anything. You want a cool, funky, fugly, like mustardy yellow. You wanna, you know, like a green. You want a odd little, you know, pastel-y. They don't have any of that. They've got, I believe they have a black, they have a dark brown, they have some bright reds and pinks and things and oranges, but those are all pretty basic and you can find those pretty much anywhere. I just feel like the brand has gotten boring. Like, it's not doing anything groundbreaking in the sense of bringing anything new to the table. The collab they did with Nima Tang was amazing, and like I said, I still want that orange lip set. I've heard that it's a beautiful formula, which I expected, and that the color is absolutely stunning, which I'm not surprised about. But again, it's an orange lip set. There's nothing groundbreaking about that. And so I feel like they just need to shake things up at that brand, because they have the quality is there. You know, I have most of their little 5 pans. Their eyeshadow formula is stunning. It's a beautiful, their matte formula is a beautiful formula. I've tried a little bit of the metallics. I'm not as impressed, but their mattes are amazing. And I know that they've repackaged things to try to update, and that's great, but I think you need to do more than repackage things. I think you need to go sit down at the table and come up with something new and exciting. That's how I feel about Dose of Colors. Next up is another brand that I feel like has fantastic formulations, beautiful products, but has nothing going on. It's crickets. And I often wonder if they're even going to stay in business. And that is Cover FX. I really like Cover FX. They had one of my, when I was really into matte foundations, the Cover FX Power Play foundation was my go-to. I still, I panned the Cover FX Power Play concealer last year. Love that concealer. Would consider repurchasing it if I could make, you know, but right now I'm in a relationship with the Kosas concealer. So once that relationship, you know, sours, maybe I'll repurchase that one. I don't know. And I have crap ton of other concealers, you know, so I might repurchase that one. I don't know, but it's a great concealer and it was recommended to me, and I purchased it on sale and I was like, this is an amazing concealer. How come no one's talking about this? And that's the thing about Colourpop. I like their little blush duos. Now the blush duos and the bronze duos, they were super popular and then they kind of fell off, and then some people have purchased them like, I don't like them as much. If you don't like super pigmented blushes, you're not going to like those. Those are pigmented, okay? You go on with a light, you use a synthetic brush, you go on with a light hand. Same for the bronzers. But I think the products are stunning. Having said that, can you think of a single Colourpop product that has come out in the last like 2 years after those blush duos, blush and bronzer duos? I can't. I don't think there's, I don't even know. I don't even know what they've released since then. Like, where are they? What are they doing? Because they have the ability to create really beautiful products. But again, I think it's another brand that has kind of gotten stuck, kind of like Dose of Colors has kind of gotten stuck, and they're stuck in a they're in a stagnant place as far as the creative aspect of the brand and creating things that are exciting for people. So honestly, guys, I'm not even gonna lie. I would not be surprised if Colourpop announced they were going out of business or something like that, because I just feel like we never hear anything from them. And which is a shame, because I think that, again, I think their formulations are beautiful and I think their product range is beautiful. I just think they need to do something different. Next up is a brand that I was sort of already kind of losing interest in, and I felt like they were releasing things maybe a little too often, and what they were releasing wasn't that exciting. There was a couple of things they came out with around holiday that I was interested in. They recently came out with some lipsticks that I was interested in, which I purchased one. But they've had so much controversy. The owner of the brand has created so much controversy around this brand, and it's really turned a lot of people off, including myself, and that is Juvia's Place. First off, let me say, I have a really large collection of Juvia's Place palettes that I love and that I still love and will continue to love. I just feel like, much like it was with Too Faced, when a brand owner or the controversy surrounding a brand outshine the products, even when they're good, you have a problem. And I think that's what Juvia's Place is. The problem that Juvia's Place is facing right now is that I feel like they are at a place now where the controversies are hard to ignore. Like before, I think people kind of was just like, yeah, okay, I can kind of ignore that and get past that. And, you know, that was an issue they had with a you know, an influencer that's got nothing to do with me. And that's the way I felt, like, you know, them having beef with influencers. Like, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. You know, I'm not someone who likes to get involved in other people's dramas. You know, I'm just like, no, I don't, that has nothing to do with me. And I stick by that. But when it becomes things that are larger than that, when it becomes things that are, you know, bigoted and anti-Asian, or, you know, and problematic, and the way you handle things, like, I think had certain controversies been handled better, I think people would feel a little bit better about them, but they haven't been. And on top of that, I don't feel like the products that have been released recently have been all that exciting to begin with. They came out with those lipsticks, and like I said, I broke down and bought one of them. I like it. Their formula, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. But I do know that as far as their eyeshadow palette collections go and their eyeshadow palette releases, with the exception of the 2 that they released during the holiday 2021, I haven't seen anything I think is worth purchasing or spending your money on. I just don't. Like, there's nothing is groundbreaking, nothing is interesting. They're one of those brands who's come out with so many palettes that there is a point where you kind of feel like, what more is there to do? And that's when I feel like maybe that's the moment where you pull back as far as how much you're releasing, you know? So yeah, that is my feelings about Juvia's Place. I have lost interest in the brand. That may change. I don't see it happening in the immediate future, though, to be quite honest. And finally, as Teresa's dad says, our Lord and Savior, Colourpop. So funny. She's so funny. But this is the brand that was the catalyst for this video, guys. It just made me realize that I have not purchased a single Colourpop product in 2022 so far. We are in July of 2022. I have not purchased a single palette. Now, keep in mind, I was on a 3-month no-buy from like January to March, so I wasn't purchasing anything. But usually after I've come off a no-buy, I'll start purchasing again. And Colourpop is a brand that I've always purchased from fairly regularly. And there have been things that have caught my eye, but there has been nothing that I felt the need to actually like add to cart, check out. You know, I've looked for things. I will say there have been things that I was very close to purchasing and I went to look for them and they were out of stock. And then I just close out and be like, okay, so that just means I'm not making a Colourpop order. And then I forget about them. And then I'm like, I'm fine. I didn't need it anyway. That's how I've been with Colourpop. And it's not that they've not releasing anything that I don't find interesting. Like there have been things that I've been very much interested in. It's just not been things that I felt the need to actually pay money for to own, or like I said, it'd be something that I did want that was out of stock. And then I would go, that's a sign that I don't need that. And I'll just close the window, close the tab and go on about my life. And then I don't even think about the product anymore. And that's sort of a sign that I really didn't need the product to begin with, I know Colourpop gets a lot of shit for how much they release and blah, blah, blah. And for me, I feel like Colourpop has kind of become the villain of the story when really there's villains everywhere. You've got Makeup Revolution like right there, y'all. Right there. Right there. They've got like 15 brands and had the audacity to come out with a brand that they called sustainable. Well, we're all about sustainability. Sure, we have 15 other brands, but we're going to come out with another brand and say we're about sustainability. Sir, who are you kidding? Sir, ma'am, madam, who are you kidding? I'm going off on a tangent here, but that's just how I feel about that. I feel like there's like this whole idea. I mean, if you're going to villainize Colourpop, there's a lot of brands you can villainize. But for me personally, this is not about that aspect of it. It's really just about the releases themselves. And I just haven't been interested enough to actually purchase anything. Like I've been interested, but not enough. And even when stuff is out of stock and it comes back into stock, I'm just sort of like, I'm good. Which is so bizarre for me. I always had at least a handful of Colourpop purchases. And who's to say? I'm saying this now. That's not to mean that there won't be something that comes out that I will want to purchase before the year is out. I'm almost done with my Colourpop BFF3 lippy pencil, which if you watch my videos, you know that is my go-to neutral nudie lip pencil. When that is done, I will be repurchasing that. No question. So again, it's not to say that I won't ever purchase from Colourpop again, or that it won't happen towards, later on this year. It just is not happening anytime soon. That's just the way I see it. All right, guys, so that is it. That is my list of all of the brands that I have lost interest in. Again, the list could change, more could be added. Some brands could leave the list. You never know. This is an ever, the makeup industry and makeup interests are ever evolving, fluid thing. I don't ever put myself in a box I can't get out of when it comes to stuff like that because you never know. But as of now, these are the brands that I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Let me know in the comments down below. What are some of the brands that you are just like, I'm just bored. I'm not interested in anything from that brand right now. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, to subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye now.